The regular meeting of the Planning Board of the Village Dobbs Ferry on Thursday evening, August 5, 2021. We have 9 items on our agenda tonight. Item number 1, I would first move that we open the meeting. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 1 is to adopt the minutes of the Planning Board meeting of July 1, 2021. We have all received those, and I hope we've had a chance to look through them. Does anybody have any comments, additions, or corrections?
Not me.
Not me, not me. I move that we approve the minutes of the meeting of July 1, 2021. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Item number 2, 156 Palisades Street, continuation of public hearing for site plan approval for proposed new multifamily building. I would move first of all that we open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening. Let's give a second.
Oh, that's such a great picture now. Come on.
The Last Supper. Who wants to play Judas?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Oh, it didn't come up.
I volunteer.
You know.
That's
Yeah,
the joke.
just a challenge.
That was the first one.
I
I said,
think I just
supper.
Yeah,
No, that was
sorry.
more than a set of the table so we can be in the picture.
And then try and share screen.
Share
again?
screen,
I'm
yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Separate text, that's funny too.
So that's like, like click that, yeah. And then hit share. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
That would work. Good evening. I'm Christina Griffin. I'm principal CGA Studio Architects. I'm here with Suzanne Levine, project architect, Michael Lang, the owner. We came here with some 3D studies, which we did not submit, but we brought it to the meeting. At our last meeting, let's see if I can keep this up here. I had shown you 3 schemes, and it was really to show you how we were trying to get an as-of-right building for this site based on the new MDR2 zoning regulations that were adopted. We chose scheme C, which was a building that's slightly more in lot coverage than the max. It's at 34.8%, 2% more than the 32.8%. And that's based on a sliding scale because this lot is between 7,500 and 10,000 square feet. So what we're proposing is a 3-story building. This is just one of our studies, 3D studies, and I'm going to come back to that. I think everyone knows where this is located on Palisades near the corner of Cedar Street. And there's a combination of lots of different 2- and 3-story buildings. Some of them are multifamily, most of them 2 to 5 units, something like that. This is our survey, which we're planning to tear this structure, this 2-story framed house down. And this is just our current zoning data chart. What we're proposing is a 5-unit building, 34.8% coverage, 42% impervious surfaces, 3 stories, a 12-foot front yard, 10-foot side yards, 20 feet maximum combination side yards, 5 spaces in the garage, 3 on the street. And that's based on our understanding that 3 can be grandfathered in because of the current situation with the multifamily, the 2-family house there. Our site plan here is our current site plan. We landed on 5 units. We also, as we mentioned last time, we look at this as a continuation of this whole process that started 2 years ago with a different architect designer. We know that you had looked at 8 units, 7 units. We're looking at 5 units. There's 2 on the first floor, 2 on the second, and 1 on the third floor. And if you look at the shape of this site plan, it's showing that we have a 2-story building that has a 12-foot setback. And then we have another, the third floor is set back another 10 feet 9. We would like to push this building towards the front of the lot and use the rule of following of having the front yard be within the prevailing front yard setbacks. And that's because we have a steep site. We go from up about 8 feet front to back, and we have a lot of excavation in the back the more we push it back. So we want to bring this building forward. This is our building section, and we had shown an as-of-right scheme last time. And we had, in order to keep the building low enough to be no more than 37 feet to the third floor, we had a 9-foot retaining wall in the back. So we would like the board to consider a building that is tiered so that the third floor is 41'6". And that's simply because we want to reduce the amount of excavation. And in this scheme, we end up with a retaining wall that's only 3'6" in the back, much less excavation. And I'll show you how we want to accomplish getting this building to be in keeping with the scale and massing that exists. Let's see, I'm going to lean back a little. So wait a minute, let me go to the floor plans before we get to the renderings, just to explain. So on this new scheme, it's just a further development of the scheme, the scheme C that we all preferred last time. We've developed the garage. We have 5 parking spaces in the garage, 1 per unit, and then 3 off on the on-street. This parking garage gives us enough room for a waste area, utility space for meters and things like that. And it also, we want an entry at the lower level so that we can get handicap access into the building without having a big ramp. So we raised the building out of the ground to do that. And then our first floor plan has 2 bedroom, 2 bath units. One is 1278 square feet. The other one is 13 square feet. And the main reason why we are like 2% over the lot coverage is we couldn't get 2 units side by side to work and be no more than the 32.8. So we're a little bit above that. I also want to point out another reason to bring the building forward is we want to make sure there's room in the back for our storm drainage system. Third floor plan has, I want to mention first and second are exactly the same, 2 units in each. Third floor is 3 bedroom, 2 baths. It's 1670 square feet, setback 10 feet 9. So the total setback to the third floor is 12. Oops.
Oh, no.
I think I pressed the something here. So we have a total setback of 22 feet 9 to the third floor. There's an elevator and stair that continues up to a common roof deck at the very top of the building. And also the third floor is set back, not just in the front, but on each side by 4 feet and 4'6". So these are our elevations. We started looking at the exterior, and these are the elevations we submitted. We've been fine tuning since our submission, and we've looked very carefully at the design guidelines for Palisade Street, and we are keeping in mind the guidelines that says that the primary facade should not be more than 40 feet. So you'll see in the 3D, you'll see it easier, but this facade is only 35 feet. We have a main primary facade here. And then we have this smaller facade, is 17 feet 8 wide, that is set back 5 feet from the main facade. We have a porch entry, we have cutout openings. And the primary facade that's 12 feet from the street is 34 feet 6. The third floor is 41 foot 6, which is set back. And you can see that setback on the south elevation where the third floor is set back here. And then on the back, on the east side, we jump up a whole story. We're almost at first floor level because of the topography in the back. And another advantage to lifting the building out of the ground, there's many advantages: reduction of excavation, handicap access through the lower level, and then also just getting light and ventilation through windows and avoiding putting the first floor into a well in the back where the bedrooms are. So I'm going to show you now our 3D views. I guess I did want to jump to, we have the as of right scheme here. I just want to point out to the board that the as of right scheme made it so that we would have, if we do a 20-foot setback, we didn't do the prevailing front yard setback, and we pushed the building down, kept the building down, so 37 feet was our max at the third floor. We end up with much more excavation. I see the sloping line here, and a 9-foot retaining wall in the back, and windows that would be probably in wells towards the back of the building. So we took a look at the building three-dimensionally. These are drawings that were done and then superimposed onto a photograph of the street. We have what we call scheme A, and that is a scheme that shows an entry at the basement level with the garage to the right and driveway. We are showing a stone wall that is either retaining the wall that's there or building a new one that is very, very similar in height. It really helps to manage the grade because of the sloping sidewalk, and it also is kind of a buffer to reducing the height of the basement level. So this scheme shows an entry with a stair coming up to an entry on the first floor level, as well as basement level. And what I consider our primary facade is this facade here that's 35 feet wide, has cutout openings, very similar to a lot of the buildings further down on the street. We have a feature which is decks outside of sliding doors, and that detail repeats itself over here on the right on what we call our secondary facade, which is pushed back. So our datum, it's also in your code, is the primary datum, which is that horizontal line at the top of the building. That is 34 feet 6. And then at the very top, you're going to see our third floor, which is set back. And we're planning to have trellises as a shading device and as a way to break the box and make it feel, just warm up that facade that's at the very top. At the third floor and at the very top. The very top is bulkhead that with an elevator that lets access onto that top roof deck. Now, this is just the same scheme with the existing trees. We're really fortunate that this driveway lands between those trees, and it looks like we'll be able to keep them. We just took it off so you could see the building. This is scheme B. We're taking a look at not having a stair going up to the first floor, but having a main entrance down here. So there's one entrance for the building. We're going to take a look at that idea to see if it might be a simpler facade. And also it's safer not having an exterior stair out in the exposed to the weather. This design also is taking a look at maybe some bay windows to break up the length of the wall that you see on the south side, and we may have that same kind of facade treatment on the north side. And this is our scheme B with the entry in the basement level with the trees that exist that we are planning to keep. We're also showing on all these schemes a wall that will probably be a stone wall, either keeping the existing or putting a new one up in its place, and it will help to manage the grade differential that we have between the sidewalk and the grade that is up against the building. And that's the extent of our presentation tonight. We're taking this project one step at a time. I would like to get your comments before we go any further.
Can you kind of summarize as to let me say it in a more positive way. Is this design compliant with the current zoning code in all respects?
No.
No.
It isn't.
Can you point out the things that are not compliant?
I just jumped to the section. The maximum height in the code is very simple, 37 feet. We're at 41.6, and that's because we've lifted the building up out of the grade to avoid all this excavation. And we also were getting our handicap access through the basement. So that's the reason why we would like to go higher. But we have designed the building with a big setback above so that we feel that if you look at the 3D, it mitigates the height problem when you do that. And also the other problem we had that I explained at the last meeting, if we could not get our footprint to fit that 32.8%. It was impossible. You couldn't get 2 units. You could get, they were deficient. So we are asking for either a variance or a waiver for 2% more than the lot coverage that's allowed. And parking, it's our understanding that 3 spaces are actually grandfathered in on the street. So we need to get that confirmed. We just have that as we just had that information passed on to us, from our client. And we have 5 inside and we need a total of 8.
Christina, did you see Ed's comment about if you would explore doing the as of right height with the average setback and not the code setback?
The
Prevailing.
prevailing. Yeah, I know I have to submit that analysis. It was done on the previous project. But that's our plan because because of the steep site and trying to avoid excavation, we're going to bring the building forward. And we're going to provide, I don't think that's a problem, but I know you need to have that analysis to get that confirmed that the 12-foot setback is within the prevailing setbacks on the street. Most of them are, I think, less than that,
Well, also it could reduce the variance required for the height.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
That has to do with the front yard setback. I'm
Well,
not-
you said that the 9-foot retaining wall used the 20-foot setback. If that becomes 12 and you move the whole building forward, then
This-
the amount of excavation you have to do should decrease, correct?
Yes, we went from a 9-foot retaining wall to a 3'6" retaining wall. We've already pushed the building forward. The last time we were here, we showed you the as of right with 20-foot setback. We're showing a 12-foot setback, which brought it forward. And then, what we'd like to do is have some kind of outdoor terrace. And I know it's really a lot more, it's really nice when you can look over a retaining wall. It's more comfortable. We don't want to have the building in a well. So that's why we are lifting them. There are many reasons why we think it is a better building, better design if we lift the building up out of the ground and bring it forward. So this scheme is 12-foot setback.
So I appreciate what you're trying to do. I guess there are a couple things. I think first of all, to really evaluate the scheme, it's worth seeing the site plan, the building footprint in the context of the rest of the street, and also seeing the elevations of the adjacent buildings, not in this 3D view, but to see the kind of straight on elevations. I mean, whatever problems there were with the work that the previous designer did, I mean, one thing that I have to say is it certainly represented, I thought, what they were going for in terms of like what the scale of the building was compared to its neighbors, which with all of the constraints that you're pushing against, the height and the 2% coverage thing, was still a half of order of magnitude bigger than everything else on the street, or so it seemed. So I think it's important to try to deal with the constraints that have been set out in the new code, both in terms of coverage and in terms of height. And because I think that the building probably is too big. It's hard to still in terms of its appearance. It's hard to tell from that rendering because the rendering doesn't actually show the context, and it's not comforting. I mean, putting the trees in front of it is not like an argument for whether it fits or not, right? The trees might not live. I don't know if they're deciduous or not, but that's not the basis that we should be using for like whether or not it looks right, is whether or not it's hidden from a certain point of view. So I think that you need to show this building in its context and at a level where the issues about the character and the character guidelines are kind of apparent. Now, I would suggest that somewhere between and I understand the issue of the excavation, and this is a challenging site to test the new zoning on, but I feel like somewhere between what the earlier schemes were trying to do, which was to get the first level of parking almost completely underneath, below grade with a ramp going down into it, requires a huge amount of excavation, and that's a challenge. But in this scheme, there's barely any grade change down to the garage. And I would say that there ought to be something here in between in terms of how much you're lifting up the building and how much excavation you're doing. Because my concern is not just the overall, like conforming to the overall height, but I think the elevation, the straight on elevation of that building compared to its neighbors is going to reveal something which I think we've always said from the beginning we couldn't tolerate, which was this idea of a building sitting on top of what is basically a parking plinth. For most of the buildings that are there, if the entrance that are along the street, if the entrances are not at the sidewalk, you might have to go up through this kind of like what we call this transition zone, this kind of front yard landscape area, and then you get to a porch, but you don't feel like you're walking by the base, the inactive base of a building where like the garage doors is going to be as prominent as it is. So, and then the third thing I would say, even though ultimately it'll be, a lot of this will be up to the Architecture and Historic Review Board to look at. I think that the balconies are a kind of, there's no precedent for that anywhere on the street. Not that there needs to be a precedent for everything you present it to be a beautiful building that has some new elements on it, but to me, I'm not at all convinced that this building fits in its context. And I think some of that, truthfully, would be mitigated by the fact that it probably would be a little bit of a smaller building if you were conforming to all of the zoning that's required in terms of coverage and height and so on. So I don't know how to, to me, it's sort of hard to evaluate the way it is now. I mean, I appreciate the one 3D rendering you did, but without sort of seeing it in compared to its neighbors, it's hard to judge. But my instinct is that and by the way, the other thing that was, there were bits and pieces of the various schemes. It's so hard to keep track of it now, but there have been bits and pieces of earlier schemes that worked, right? One of the advantages of pushing the building down was, at least in one of the schemes, there was a ramp up starting at the high end of the site, enabled you to have a kind of ramp up to the main entrance at that first floor. So, by pushing that, getting that first floor down to more like would be comparable to the front porch level of the other buildings on the street, it might be possible to ramp to it, take advantage of the topography at the sidewalk and actually ramp up to an entrance, to a main entrance. So,
We've looked at that scheme, and we have looked at all the previous schemes. And I guess we wanted to take a look at something other than that, because the ramp looked very long railing, and I didn't think it was attractive. We're also looking at maybe glass bays rather than decks. I think that also when you go up the street, over on this end, the next door neighbor actually has a garage, and I think the sites are a little steeper here. So you've got these some of these buildings where you kind of enter on either the basement level or close to basement level. So we actually are working on that streetscape, and we'll have it for the next meeting, because I understand that's very important. We're just trying to get some feedback from you.
I mean, I understand the difficulty with excavating into the site, but I think there should be something between digging all the way down to kind of basically get the garage below grade and having what you have now, which is basically on grade. There's a little bit of a slope in the section from the sidewalk to the basement level, but not much. So the building is pretty much sitting on doing one of the things we said we didn't want to see, which was a building sitting on what is pretty obviously parking deck or a parking level. So I think it might be worth looking at trying to lower that first floor elevation, and could bring the rest of the building into conformance in terms of height, and mitigate the height of what you're walking by when you're walking on the sidewalk. The sense of the ground floor being this kind of inaccessible thing with a big garage door.
Thank you. I mean, we were really kind of responding to trying to reduce the excavation, but maybe there's
I
some
appreciate it.
compromise here that we could consider.
I get it.
Yeah.
In other parts of the village, we talk about steep slope laws and not trying to, I get all that, but
Okay.
it's a problem here, I think, to try to have that first parking level more or less at the same elevation as like one of the site, because it just makes the whole building a little, too high, and also makes it look like it's sitting on top of something.
If you look at the street as a whole, there's a lot of variety.
There is.
On this end, they're a little smaller, but on the other end, they're much taller. So I think I'll do the streetscape and we'll look at it more carefully.
Yeah, I
We'll
think
look at it, all the numbers.
Yeah, I think it's worth looking at the whole streetscape and to get a sense of it and of the scale of this. And also the building footprints. I think it was useful to see the footprint of this building compared to the footprints of the other structures on that side of the street. Because that also gave us a sense of how big this was relative compared to its neighbors.
Right.
I'm a
Any other
little,
comments?
I'm a little uncomfortable with so many variances, it's just coming out of the gate with this new zoning. To have it, this sort of becomes de facto the new zoning because developers after this, we're going to say, well, we just approved this last building. So it's just making me uncomfortable. It's a little bit, the footprints 2% over, the height is 4 feet over, the parking isn't quite adequate. It's 12, the front yard setback. Actually, I'm okay with the front yard setback. I think that will work, but it's like, that might be one variance, but so.
Understand.
The other thing is the setback for the section on the south, on the southerly part. I don't think it's set back enough to really read as a separate mass. It's only 5 feet setback, so it's just my personal.
It's hard to see. It's clear on that picture.
The grandfathered spaces, is Ed determining that, or how's that? 3 grandfathers.
I'm just curious, how can it be grandfathered if the house is being taken down?
Right, I was wondering that
Yeah,
myself.
I can't imagine that.
I don't think it's.
I don't think
grandfathered.
street parking runs with a lot. I don't think.
Like, once you tear down an existing building and you build a new, I don't believe that it's grandfathered anymore because there's no building there. Right?
I'm looking over at council, is it?
Well, but isn't street parking, if you have street parking, can't that be included in the parking for the lot?
I don't think so.
No.
There is a provision. I haven't looked at it in a while. My understanding is when we were trying to create flexibility in the downtown for parking, one of the things, I don't know if it was automatic or if you had to request it, but one of the things that was open to an applicant was to count the on-street spaces against what they were required, right?
But in front
I
of
think
this,
it's in the list, it's along with the pileup and the other things. It's one of the things that was to allow
That's-
flexibility was to count.
That's in non-residential zones.
Ed, are you sure it wasn't something that we were trying to do in the downtown in order to make it possible for people to do sort of compact mixed use development in the downtown?
Right, in the downtown zones.
This is MDR.
But this isn't.
Yeah, even though it feels like downtown, I guess
Yeah,
that's
it's
right.
not, yeah.
But also in front of this building is a handicap space and a crosswalk. So, how does that work?
Yeah. Not well.
I'm not sure.
So
So that's another thing that would have to be figured out in terms of, parking spaces. It doesn't have enough parking spaces, so. Just,
Okay, there's also that parking lot across the street.
I know.
It's a shame that it's empty.
We're not
the trustee says no.
all the same. You can tell we're not all the same about certain things. If it were up to me,
Yeah,
parking would not be an issue on this site at all for that reason and a bunch of other reasons. But
right,
it is
right.
apparently an issue. So, I of all of the various things we talked about trying to loosen up on, my tendency would be to err towards being generous towards counting the on-street parking towards
Right.
the development here, because I think grandfathered in the legal sense is one thing. Grandfathered in the reality of what's there now is kind of, in some ways, you could argue more important. If there are 3 parking spaces there now, there's no,
Right.
in my opinion, those can be used, but, or could count, but.
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, we'll take a look at that. I think all the challenges we have with this site, so,
It is. And
it's also just to do a new building here, the number of units matters for making the numbers work. So we're gonna take a look at all your comments and see if we can look at other options, but
Anybody else?
we'll see.
You were also
know.
asking for the waiver for the affordable housing unit, correct? Or is that off
Well-
the table? You're giving us an affordable housing unit now?
Well, we would either, I think that if we can't do a waiver, we would have no affordable, we'd only do 4 units.
Mhm.
It's actually not easy to afford a unit affordable in a 5-unit building.
Right,
so
no,
if we
no,
don't
I
get-
understand, I was just asking.
I
because
don't know
we-
if, I thought at the last meeting you said we have to go to the BOT for that. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
If you want the waiver on the
I see.
requirement.
It's up to them, not your board.
Right.
Okay, and we were dropped to 4 then, right? Okay.
Building gonna stay the same. A couple inches smaller here.
Well, it might be a little bit smaller, but just smaller enough to be conforming. So
Or we can move the additional land next door to the property that we're going, build a bigger building.
that trick is kind of not worth discussing.
Thank you for your comments. We'll take a look at these ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman, this is a public hearing, so I don't know if anybody.
Yes, indeed. It is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this application? Either here or online? I have to remember now that we do have people out.
I have one person with their hand raised.
No,
Just one,
one?
just one.
Good.
Denise, can you hear us?
Yep. Hi. It's Denise Wooden from 154 Palisade Street. I just have a couple
This is
questions.
The neighbor.
Yes. The neighbor.
DA apostrophe neighbor.
I just have a couple questions. Well, first of all, thank you very much for proposing to save the trees. I really appreciate that. As others know, I have brought the trees up many times. I would note though that I wasn't worried about the southernmost tree because that's in front of 154 Palisades, so I didn't think that was threatened, but I'm glad to see that they will both be saved. My question is, the facade that you showed, what is the facade made of? Because I know that previous renderings we had seen was a brick facade, like, brown brick facade. This looks more gray. I don't know if that's just, what you put up, for temporary renderings, or whether that would actually be the color of the facade. And then I would reiterate the question that I asked last time, which is, did you consider at all putting the garage on the north and the driveway on the north side of the building where there's more space between buildings? So those are my questions.
I don't know if I have all of them, but the one about the materials, we don't really specify materials yet. We're just really looking at massing and scale. And we might consider brick, I'm not sure. We just don't know yet. About your question on the garage, the reason why we're on the low end with the driveway is because we start at the top end, and the garage, if we do a ramp, we have a long ways to go. It just puts the whole
Raises.
garage even higher and raises the building even higher and makes it almost impossible. Well, you couldn't do a 3-story building, I think, if you started on that end. I think you had another question though, so.
Oh, it's just a comment about, thank you for saving the trees. And I do hope you stick to that, because I have seen developers in town say they're going to save the trees, and then in the end they don't. So I just really hope that you do.
Okay. Well, we plan to. It's our plan.
Okay. Anybody else have comments on the board? Yeah. I think we will continue the public hearing to the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have to excuse, I apologize to the public and to the rest of the board. I have to excuse myself. For the rest
Okay,
of the
thank you.
agenda. Thank you. Sure.
The next item on our agenda, item number 3, 185 Ashford Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting, Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting, you asked for a draft resolution, so I sent the board a draft resolution. I highlighted, and this is a recommendation resolution, and I highlighted two items specifically that I'm looking for additional responses from the planning board as to whether you want to recommend them to the village board or whether you want to not recommend those two items from the to the village board.
Right.
And I'm happy to discuss them with the board as you see fit.
Good. Hi again.
Hi again. Okay. I hope you read my cover letter. We are, I hope with that, we have now responded to all the remaining comments. And we had a list in our letter, just about the minor things about the type of glazing we're using, the how we're handling windows on the zero lot line. On the landscaping plan, the native, we changed one of the grasses to be native grass species and changed to the EAF one item. And we also added our construction sequencing plan. So those are the comments that we felt we had to address. And I wondered if you have any further comments and at this point.
I don't know, is the board, I don't know, the board aware of that? These are the comments from,
I read them, yes.
they read them.
Yes.
Yes.
Valerie, is that adequate response to you?
Yes.
Thank you. I think we're close on this one.
Did we close the public hearing last time?
I'm sorry?
Did we close the public hearing last?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did close the public hearing.
Directed a
Yeah, thank
resolution to be prepared.
Yes.
I think we're prepared to go forward unless any board members have additional questions or,
Well, do we want to discuss these two highlighted items and make sure we're in agreement or not?
okay.
I've read them both now and I don't see any, I'm for these two items.
Right,
I agree.
in the board determination, in the
We're in agreement.
in the resolution.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. If that's the case, I would move that we close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Closed it.
It was already closed.
It was already closed. All right, close it again. All right,
Double closed.
double close. This is a planning board recommendation resolution. The board of trustees is the final approving body in this. The background is this is the property of 185, 191 Ashford Avenue. Whereas Ashford Avenue Apartments LLC is seeking site plan approval to substantially rehabilitate and expand a mixed-use building to include 12 residential dwelling units and 2 retail live-work dwelling units. Property is located at 185, 191 Ashford Avenue and is located in the DT Downtown Transition Zoning District. Whereas this application requires site plan approval by the Village Board of Trustees and a recommendation by the Planning Board. Whereas the Planning Board has carefully examined the application and applicant's materials, and it lists a whole string of things that we've been furnished and reviewed and discussed at these meetings. Whereas the Planning Board has also reviewed and examined letters and reports and memorandum from the Planning Board's consulting engineer and planner. Whereas the Planning Board closed the public hearing on July 1, and at the same meeting, the board deliberated in public on the applicant's request for the recommendation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Planning Board recommends that the application for the site plan approval for the following additional recommendations is set forth below. The Village Board should consider requiring the applicant to address to the full satisfaction of the village engineer, all outstanding stormwater and engineering issues raised in the hearings and documents submitted to the board, including the July 29, 2021 engineering review letter. The applicant proposes to unbundle its off-street parking spaces. This would include the potential renting of unused parking spaces to area residents. While the planning board is in favor of unbundling parking, the renting of spaces to persons other than the occupants or tenants of the building is an additional use which is not permitted in the DT district. The village board should consider amending the zoning code to allow parking in the DT district. To allow parking, I guess.
Unbundled parking.
Yeah, must be an additional word needed there.
I can change it to unbundled.
Unbundled parking. Thank you. Number.
They allow parking already.
Yeah, no, we allow-
And it's just for clarification, the actual, and maybe, Dan, maybe it should be to allow parking as a use in the DT district. A parking non-accessory, that is the technical
Okay.
use.
Okay,
term. So
all right, gotcha. Thank you. 3, the applicant also noted that they are in favor of providing on-street parking in front of the building to offer public ease of access to the retail spaces. The planning board is in favor of the proposed parking spaces on Ashford. However, it is recommended that the village board request additional details on the width of Ashford Avenue and the current drive lanes to determine if the proposed on-street parking would be possible or if modifications to the striping and roadway are necessary to accommodate on-street parking.
That's it.
Yes, I hereby attest that the above resolution was approved by the planning board. It is July 20.
That's where you sign.
We have to
Yeah, you're
vote.
done. You just have to vote now.
Well, I'm missing something here.
No, you don't. You're
No,
just
it's a,
voting.
I need to make the motion
Yeah.
first. I'm sorry. Okay, I make the motion that we approve. Is there a second? All in favor?
I,
Thank you. Now I can say this. I hereby attest that the above resolution was approved by the planning board at its July 1, 2021 meeting, and I have been authorized to sign this resolution by decision of the planning board.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
good luck.
Good luck at the Board of Trustees. I'm sure they will welcome you.
Thank you.
Item number 4 on our agenda, 49 Clinton Avenue, continuation of public hearing for site plan approval for proposed new classroom building on Masters campus. Excuse me, I move that we open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Thank you.
Like good on the sharing the screen?
Yeah.
I think I'm good, right?
yep, yep.
All set? All right, terrific. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good to see everybody again. Brad Schwartz from Zarin and Steinmetz on behalf of the Master's School, joined by Ed Biddle from the school, and our architectural consultants and engineering consultants are on Zoom. We can promote them as needed during the meeting. We've been here, this is now our 4th meeting, 2nd public hearing. Since the July planning board meeting, we had a site visit with your board. We received a no adverse impact letter from SHPO. Another no adverse impact letter from DEC that this project won't cause any impacts to fish in the Hudson River. Glad we clarified that. We appeared before the AHRB. They had a couple of clarifying questions, and we're gonna have a site visit with that board on Sunday and back before them Monday night. We received Ms. Menashe's comment memo this week, and it appears that we've satisfied all the outstanding planning comments. We did also receive a memo from Ms. Oliveri. We know there are outstanding stormwater comments. The engineers have now resubmitted another draft SWIP that we believe that many of Mr. Oliveri's comments have been addressed, although I know Mr. Oliveri needs a chance to review that updated SWIP and while there still may be some final items, it'll be worked out with Mr. Oliveri and the project engineers hopefully over the next couple of weeks.
Good. That's good.
We've prepared, we showed the plans a number of times. I'm happy to walk through it again, or I'm happy not to, and just turn it over to public comment.
Anybody, I think we're well acquainted with the project and
I just had one question. I forgot to ask at the site visit is the truck, the supplies will come in on Cochrane and, right? And drive around to the back, basically to the eastern side of the site, come up.
So it's gonna be a curb cut off of Clinton. It's gonna be that's
Right,
gonna be,
right.
that's gonna be the access, not Cochrane.
Oh, okay. So they go across the lawn that's there now or?
There'll be a temporary drive across. that lawn.
Okay, so I didn't understand. And that's all prepared for the tonnage of trucks that you need, I
Yes.
guess. And then restored afterwards?
Sorry?
And then it's restored after it's
Yes,
erased?
yes,
afterwards?
temporary construction access.
So they don't use Cochrane at all? Or?
I don't believe so, no, right?
No, Cochrane is actually what we refer to as our bus lane. So
Okay.
that is where the students arrive and
Gotcha.
depart from their buses. And so our intention was to build this temporary
Okay.
access road, which if you go off Cochrane, there's a change in slope. There's like
Yeah,
it declines very, so that would be maybe a very tricky thing.
Sure.
To have people do that.
yeah,
In addition, you'd have the school use
right.
concomitantly. So you put in a temporary access road across what you now see as a lawn,
Okay,
terminating in the area that is now the softball field.
gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
And that would be our construction.
Yeah,
access.
yeah, I forgot to ask that during the site meeting.
It's a great question.
Thanks. Yeah, no, that's better.
And to address a question that came up at the last meeting, because of the long construction temporary access road, there will not be queuing on Clinton.
Gotcha. But aren't you going to be putting the services like the electrical line and so on across where your construction path is, where the trucks are going over right there? Doesn't that cross over there?
So it will be between the construction site and the access road. So it is a little bit tricky.
I mean, the service, all the electrical and sewer and line, water lines they go north to south through that? Pretty much north to
They
south?
go between Masters Hall and Esterwood. That's not a direction I know, but that's the way I would.
Yeah,
That's
but
more-
wouldn't
that's
the
more east-west.
construction road go,
Hill,
wouldn't the
it'll be
construction road-
buried, and then that we'll have to.
Oh, that'll happen
proceed with
first.
construction. That
Okay,
will happen
all right.
first. Yes, sir.
all right, thanks, thank you.
Jennifer Olson, the architect, is on, right? She's the architect.
Yes.
She's raising her hand. That's all what I'm saying. Jennifer, can you hear us? Jennifer?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to clarify, yes, all the utility lines will go north-south between Esterwood and Cochrane Avenue, just to the west of the building. And the temporary access road will, of course, stop. Or they will keep the traffic off of the areas where we're going to be relocating the utilities to. So that, there won't be construction traffic going over those lines. But it will be contained within the same fenced perimeter around the grassy area that will contain our building as well. All of the work will be contained within there, except for there's a few locations where the utility lines have to cross the road. And of course, they'll have to work those disruptions into the schedule. And when I say the road, I mean the portion of Cochrane Avenue that runs through the site.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions? Yes, please.
I'm James Kybert. I live at 70 Clinton Avenue. Could you show me exactly where the access road is going to be on the map, curb cut access road.
Jennifer, which drawing would you like me to pull up? You're on mute, Jennifer.
I muted her by accident.
That's okay. That's okay. Brad, if you can pull up the, go to the site plan.
Yep.
Did we?
Here it is. Here it is.
Yeah, there it is. Exactly. So you can see that it's about, it's probably, I'm going to get the distance wrong if I say it, but it's about halfway between the distance between where Cochrane Avenue comes into campus and the drive for the Park Cottage entrance onto campus.
Where is the Weeping Beach in this, on this map?
It would be directly to the south. Brad, I don't know if you can zoom in at all on that, but it's directly to the south of the drive. And so we would be, it's one of the trees that's marked there to say protect tree. Yep.
So is that through the discus circle? Is this road going over the discus circle?
I believe, I can't say specifically if it's going over the discus circle, but you can see there is some of the track equipment just to the north and to the south of the road that will be deactivated as part of this temporary access road.
So on the other side of the road of Clinton, what is the property that is where the entrance and exit will be? Is it the Women's Club?
I don't know the answer to that exactly. Ed, do you happen to know?
I'd have to see the
Me
layout.
too.
But I think it's roughly what the club is.
Women's
I
Club?
think that sounds about right.
With the
I believe it's on the far, if we're looking from the street, on the far right side of Mr. Kyber's property, across from, if memory serves.
if you're looking at my property, it's on the far right side,
That's what I believe, yes.
because that's where that beach is. So this
Yeah,
is saying it's,
I met out there, Mr. Kyber, I met out there with them preliminarily to discuss this access road. And I made a special point of making sure that they do not put this within the drip line of that tree.
That's correct.
okay. But north of that tree, there are still a lot of trees.
Yes.
One of them just came down the other, about two or 3 weeks ago. You
Yeah,
went to,
giant one,
Mr.
yeah.
Hunter went to visit it, actually, made a pilgrimage.
Right, that was an act of God, but,
I know. I thought it was Steve Hunter.
but we did agree to miss those trees as well. So I'm going to be very specific when I go out and do this inspection and make sure that that access road is coming in between the drip line of all of those trees.
That's right. And I
Wow.
believe we stepped it off and we had adequate width to fit between those two trees, the clear roadway that we needed, staying out of the drip lines.
I'm impressed. That's very tricky. So this access road will be, I just want to reiterate, it will be restored back to the field the curb cuts will be restored. There was discussion at the last meeting that the damages that Masters Construction has done in the past and any damages that will be done on the street through this project will be repaired. Is that correct? Does that go into writing somewhere? Does that get-
It should go into the resolution and in the permit that all of that disturbance of the village right of way is restored.
It was a comment also in my review memo to include it as a condition.
Oh, good. Condition, that's a nice word.
And I should, on these drawings, we do have restoration notes that reflect that the right of way, the curb cut will be restored, the sidewalks will be restored, the lawn will be restored. So that's in the contract documents that will be issued. So it will very much be part of the contractor's job to make sure that that's restored.
Will any plantings be restored? Any plantings that get disturbed be restored in some form or fashion?
I mean, as far as the lawn, of course, I think our goal would be to protect the trees in any way possible along both sides of that flank this temporary access road. So I hope that we don't have any trees that we have to restore along there, but I could, I mean, I'll just close it with that. I hope we don't have to repair any of those trees. We, of course, as Ed said, we will be pruning the branches back to help prevent damage, unnecessary damage to the actual canopy of the tree ahead of the construction, but I hope that that's the extent of it.
So for my clarification, the view that I will have of the building when I walk out my front door every morning to look at and be inspired by it will be unobstructed. Is that right?
I don't know if you're gonna see it.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, I see the little flags. I'm excited.
There will be a fence around it throughout the entire construction process. So
Oh, the fence will
definitely
come
not
down and
very-
I'll be able to see the building, right? It's gonna be beautiful. It's zinc
Right.
and impressed concrete, et cetera, et cetera. Yes?
It's pretty far over.
I know,
You,
but still.
you say you see the flags from your top story windows or something, or?
Oh, yeah, I look. I
Except for
go
the
up and-
trees.
Yeah, I love it. It's great, very exciting. Thank you for your patience with me and my particularness on this. Is there anything I can do to help you guys?
Ed is super excited.
You don't hear that every day.
Mix cement.
Building. Appreciate that, Jim.
Okay, I'm on the team, baby. Any questions?
No.
I think we're good. Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you
have
for your
fun.
help.
Can we expedite this thing?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, good. How long do you think it's gonna take to build? From soup to nuts?
I think they discussed that at the last meeting, right?
Well, I'm
retarded.
It's like a year, I think.
I think it's 18
months, give or
months,
take.
yeah.
It's starting this September, October?
We're, your request to expedite, absolutely.
Okay. Don't worry, they will. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the line for us? Anyone else in the audience wish to be heard? Then I would move that we close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would the board like to authorize me to draft a resolution or recommendation for the next planning board meeting?
Absolutely.
Perfect, thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a nice building. Thank you.
Yeah. Next item on our agenda, item number 5 is 10 Danforth Avenue, referral from the Board of Trustees for pre-submission conference for proposed expansion of existing open terrace. very small little additions.
Barbecue deck.
Yes.
Can we waive this?
Which is it, doesn't this,
It has to come to us, yeah.
doesn't the Sawmill River go like right next to that or something?
It's pretty far away.
It's within 500 feet.
Oh, okay.
It's right above
Gotcha.
that trail. that
Yeah,
that
no,
comes
yeah.
in, Yeah.
So the residents can throw hot coals down into the hikers.
Yeah.
Evening again, for the record, Brad Schwartz, joined with Michael Gadaletta, the project architect. We're here on behalf of the Danforth Apartment Building in Rivertown Square. This is another application where the Board of Trustees has site plan jurisdiction because it's in the Chauncey Park zoning district. We're here before your board on a referral. This is our initial presentation to your board. We work with the Board of Trustees, and this is an application for about 1,000 square foot patio, just for some passive recreational enjoyment for the residents of the building. And Michael will walk the board through the plans.
We need to have a public meeting or a public hearing. Can we just?
Now, is there any way we can expedite this? Like approve it?
Yeah, I imagine
We
you
would
would.
certainly welcome a positive referral back to the Board of Trustees this evening.
You could do that for sure.
Let's do it.
We don't have a.
Probably show it to you first.
What?
They should probably show it to you first, just for the record.
No, we looked at it, but the public should see it.
Yeah.
Michael, very quickly, please.
Sure thing.
Roll through the plans.
Michael Gadaletta, MG New York Architects. I thank you for the opportunity to present this. You can give me control of the screen.
Share.
Let's see.
While they're doing that, Ed, are you aware of, is a public hearing necessary for a recommendation? I didn't think so.
He's here.
Yeah, I was thinking.
They can waive the public hearing.
Yeah, right. Okay.
We can waive the public hearing?
It's,
Oh, good.
Oh, the plan you have in front of you is the existing site plan. It's indicating the area of work to the rear of the building. There's an existing pool and a small patio or barbecue patio. And the reason that we're here tonight is that we're looking to expand the barbecue area to about 1,032 square feet exactly. It's about 300 square feet now. It's woefully undersized, and it's the apartment building is over 200 units, and they're in desperate need to expand the outdoor ability for their tenants, amenity space.
It's funny when I was looking back, when we looked at that building, I thought, wow, that's sort of a small deck for all those people.
So I'm sorry, can you show me exactly on the plan where the existing deck is? And so just a little small for me.
Yeah, it's really small.
It's
It's on the sawmill side.
yeah, it's out in the corner there somewhere.
There's the pool.
Okay. So to the south of the pool, that you see on the right-hand part of your screen, there's a little missing area, like right, let's see, right around here. You can see that. We're going to square that off so that it's flush with the back of the pool, and it comes up just about the corner. So we're going to fill in a little bit of this area right here. If I can go to another
Maybe
page.
just skip right to the
Can you
Sure
see
thing.
it? Alan, it's here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was looking for that.
Down in that corner.
I see, got it.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
You can't really see it from anywhere, I don't think.
Now, there's a hiking trail that goes to the east of that, correct?
Yes.
And
Yes.
It's
how
also
close is it?
down- It's also downhill.
Okay, so you,
So you can see on this drawing, the area of work is highlighted.
right.
So in comparison
Yeah, it's down
to the
below.
whole, it's quite small.
Yeah, I mean, and this would be below that. Yeah.
And what we have here is just a blow up of the area. You can see that there's a small barbecue area on the left of the screen. in comparison to the pool. And we're looking to just square up that area right here. I'll show you on the next slide. That's just an enlarged plan, but you can see the existing conditions. If the screen can catch up to me. So this is the area in this photo right here. We're going to be filling in that area, almost at that shadow area that you see. We're going to match everything that you see: the fencing, the pavers, the retaining wall. The landscaping will be removed in order to work, and then we're going to put that back. There's no trees that are going to be disturbed during this project. It's all turf. And you can see the height of the retaining wall. It starts about 2 feet or so and meanders around to like 3 feet waist high. And again, we're going to keep the fence. Everything is going to be the same. Ideally, when we're done, we hope that you won't notice any difference. So you can see here, this is our proposed new patio. And we've squared it with the pool, right? So we're squaring it off. It squares off with the backside of the building. The walkway around the side of the buildings, all of that remains. We're adding some bollards. There was a comment from the planner to have the bollards shaded, so they're shielded. That's not a problem. There's adaptable heads for everything, so we can certainly comply with her comments. The fencing, again, we're copying exactly what's there. The retaining wall, the construction methods, and finally, we'll be landscaping it pretty much back to the beauty that it was. It's quite pretty back there. It's a nice quiet space. So when we're done, the intention is that you won't even know we were there.
Yeah, good. Good.
Thank you. Answer any questions.
Thank you. Anyone, any questions or comments? Comment? What can we do to expedite this?
So, Mr. Chairman, if we waive site plan review, which you have the power to do, but then that takes away our engineer's report and all of that. So if we have a public hearing at the next meeting and a resolution ready at that public hearing, there is no Board of Trustee meeting at the end of this month that can get on anyway. So the next Board of Trustee meeting is September 14th. Our meeting would be the 2nd. The deadline for the Board of Trustees would be the 3rd, so it would work out perfect. We get engineer review, send them to the Board of Trustees. They apply the next day and they get on the very next Board of Trustee meeting anyway. So that's about as expedited as we can get.
Good. Well, the timing, the timing sounds very good. And we can waive the public hearing. Is that correct?
You don't have to. You could set the public hearing for the next meeting.
Okay, we can have a public hearing.
And we'll have a resolution.
Not that anybody will come, but.
Right.
Okay.
So open a public hearing for the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay, I'll just call for a public hearing.
I call for a public hearing.
Okay.
Call for,
And then I think it'll all be resolved in the next meeting.
yeah.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Me third.
Okay.
But if I have a public hearing and you're authorizing staff to prepare a resolution for that night,
Yep.
assuming we have worked out this.
Bing bang. Yep.
Staff.
Yep, you're
Good
out.
night. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda, excuse me, item number 6, 18 Fair Lawn Avenue, pre-submission conference for proposed new in-ground pool and raised spa. I think this is about the 4th pool we've had this summer.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Excuse me, there's a Miguel that has his hand raised. Is he with you?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure before I promoted him.
He's sharing his files and merch.
The second screen is new, isn't it?
But they're both, no, that was a project, it was an old.
Oh, that's right.
projector.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
That's really is great.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, my name is Miguel Fraga from Shoreline Pools. We're the pool contractor, and we are proposing a 30 by 14 in-ground gunite pool with a shelf and auto cover. We are also proposing a spa. We are yet to decide on whether it's going to be prefab, but it is going to be portion of it is going to be raised and the other portion is going to be in the ground. We are also proposing 712 square feet of patio. Around that, in total, we are disturbing around 2,374 square feet out of, I believe it's the 7,200 total area on the property. The property is a very small backyard. We do have photos of the existing backyard here. It's, we are trying to follow the 5 foot.
It's like that. It's that little strip right there.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it is. So we're trying to fit in as much as we can to that. And I know one of the comments that occurred in the memorandum was that the screening. So we had proposed arborvitaes and the fence right in front of it, just pretty much almost as the neighbor already has it as well, because they have almost a very similar looking backyard as we're planning as to propose as well. And then the engineer, I believe, is also on here if you would like to talk about the drainage.
All right, Miguel, do you have the engineering drawings? If you could just.
Yep, I can pull that up right now. Can you guys see the screen? Just tell me if you can't.
You might have to stop share. Yeah, there you go.
Good evening, everyone. I am Aziz from Hudson Engineering. Basically, with the proposed pool and the spa and the patio, we basically took it and we designed it for a 100-year storm event, putting into infiltration chambers. The infiltration chambers are going to be below the basement elevation. It's a pretty tight lot, but we did have good percolation rates and pretty decent depth from our perks and deeps, which is why we're proposing the Caltech 360 XL HDs. We did get comments from Anthony over here, which we're going to work on, some significant comments, but we're going to address them over time and we're going to discuss with them directly.
Yeah. How high is the fencing that goes around the pool?
We're currently proposing 4 feet high.
4 feet high.
Aluminum fence, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very exposed area. I drove by that today and it's right on the road there, obviously.
Yes. We are proposing 6-foot arborvitae in the back of that as well.
I mean, I'm concerned about the safety factor of, access to the pool.
You mentioned that the property next door has pretty much the same condition, right? With that, and there's that arborvitae that they screen it with as
yes,
well.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So they have a pool next door? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, next door it's
yes,
same sort of setup. But there's the impervious coverage is the maximum.
It's over. Yes, that was one of the biggest issues that we came in coming into this planning board meeting is that I believe we were 12% over the allowed coverage.
If you could see, if you pan towards the right, there should be a zoning table there.
Oh, right. Okay. Impervious blocks or anything, or is there any way to deal with that with the current scheme? Modifications?
We can introduce the idea of impervious surfaces. It would be something that we would like to talk to the homeowner first about, just to see if that would be something they'd be interested in.
Okay. I mean, that's really the only thing that's not code, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
One thing I would just point out, in our discussions and my discussions with Ed Manley, the thought was that this house might have had a drywall system or a Caltech system existing. There's a manhole shown on the plan close to where you're proposing the Caltechs. We're not sure what that is. So we'd like you to look into that and see, and then with the tight space, the they're really not getting clearances to their infiltrator system. You usually need about 10 feet off property lines, 10 feet off of structures. This is right there next to the house. So
Yeah.
it needs a little bit of a look and a little more information needed there.
Right, just, we'll have to do some more investigation for that manhole just to see its function. But right now, how we have the Coltech chambers situated, it is approximately 10 feet from both property lines. It's close to the house, as you can see, but it is below the basement elevation. What we could do is we could put like an impermeable barrier between it, but it is below the basement elevation, so the water typically should not.
So what you want to show there then is a cross section to kind of show your elevation difference. Okay? And you're also very close to the pool. You may want to try to get a little space there. You may want to split the difference. The property line there's nothing on the other side of the property line. It's a street. It's so that there isn't another adjacent property owner who you'd be affecting. So maybe
This would be closer to the street, to Fairlawn Ave. Because to the right side, you have the neighboring property there.
Was this a Doug Austrian project?
Mhm.
Did he develop all these?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
You think it's his private, like, man cave lair in that, that manhole?
There's some bodies in there.
He might know what's in there.
it's an underground bunker.
So is an area variance required because of the additional impervious surfaces?
At this point, yes, so they would require a variance for impervious coverage.
There's also, Ed, correct, there's also the availability of a waiver, correct, from the board as well? that they
Yes,
can-
if they so choose.
It sounds like there's a few more things to investigate, right?
Right, and then, of course, the board will have to decide. How you want to
Okay. Well,
Okay, so we, for the next meeting, we will just answer all these questions that we have, and then we will present them again. Is the next hearing going to be a public hearing as well?
well, we will call for a public hearing so we can have all your neighbors come and tell us what they think.
Okay, understood.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think I need to move that we call for a public hearing at the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item, item number 7, 253 Judson Avenue, pre-submission conference for proposed demolition and replacement of single-family structure. This is a bit different than some.
Good evening.
Hello. Hi.
Let me just.
Have you gone down to look at this? Property?
No, but I walked by there, so I sort of know. what it looks like.
It's a nice little-
Yeah. It is. Oh, it was Rob, okay.
Do you need a ride back?
Yes.
No. No, without Mr.
All you have to
Ardsley,
do is,
Mr.
like,
Ardsley.
share screen like you would on Zoom, and then you click, because like Zoom is open on there.
Share. I think I'm good. Desktop.
Yep.
Oh, choose an affirmation. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I got it. I'm a fast learner.
We've done so much Zoom this year, so.
We should know by now.
All right. Perfect.
Okay. All right.
Hold on, it doesn't show.
Oh, yeah, it's not up in presentation mode there.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Is there a better way to do this?
Gotta share different.
Is anyone PowerPoint inclined?
Yeah.
Thanks. Sorry about that.
Slideshow. Oh. All right. Hi, everyone. Hi, members of the board. Hello, neighbors who might be watching online. My name is Shumita Basu. I'm here with my husband, Michael Morfione. I want to tell you just a little bit about ourselves and why we're so excited to share with you our plans for our home at 253 Judson Avenue. My husband works in marketing. He's also an artist. He has a studio practice in visual arts. I am a broadcast journalist. We've been renting in Dobbs Ferry for over a year now. We came here looking for a community that shares our values, one that's welcoming and inclusive, where people care about their neighbors and their neighborhood. Now, I knew that Dobbs Ferry was that kind of place because a few years before I was born, my parents, when they first immigrated to this country, somehow landed just up the road from here. This was their first home in America. It's where they made their first friends in America, a very lovely couple who I now consider family and who also still live just up the street from here. My parents felt welcomed when they first came here. In the short time that Michael and I have been here, we have waved at our neighbors while walking on the OCA. We've bumped into familiar faces at Basilio's when we go over for a cup of coffee. We've enjoyed live jazz nights by the water. We have also felt welcomed here, which is why we're so thrilled to make this our permanent home. What really drew us into 253 Judson Avenue is the lot itself. The front yard is lush and wild. The backyard faces the Children's Village property. It's just big, wide open woods. It's so beautiful. The house that's sitting there itself right now is very charming. However, I will say when we had the house inspection done, we ran into some major problems. There was significant termite damage underneath one side of the house, compromising it to the extent that we would have to rebuild from the foundation, at least on that side. There was no insulation under the first floor, which the inspector told us was a sign that there might be a mold problem. We did consider creating an addition to the house, but ultimately we decided that the structure standing there right now is too compromised to do it prudently. That is why we're presenting a plan today to demolish the existing building and replace it with a new single-family structure. That's all I'll say for now. I'll just introduce our team and then we'll show you the plans. Matt Evans is here with us from Evans Architecture. Abdulaziz Youssef is here from Hudson Engineering and Consulting. And we have Susan Janechill here, who's our landscape architect with Aspect 120 Landscape Architecture. So I'll throw it over to Matt now.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. Matthew Evans, architect. Do I need to be sworn in or? I'm good? Okay. All right. So if I could scroll through this. They're not working.
Ah. Sorry, a little lag.
So just hit that.
I could be here with you.
You want to do the?
Yeah, I'll be Vanna White.
Okay. So what we have here are contextual photographs of the architecture of the neighborhood. The addresses are underneath each one of the houses. So we have several different examples of neighborhood architecture, which is goes from modern to more traditional architecture. And so some of them are on Judson and Beachdale. So as you can see, there's a variety of different architectural styles in the neighborhood. So right here is what we're proposing. This is a architectural rendering of the building based on, a photorealistic rendering of the building, showing the materials, the massing and the scale, and how it would basically be seen. So this is how it would be seen basically to an extent in the back, but as we show it on the original rendering, this gives you a better idea of how it's constructed. I wouldn't have with the trees and everything. So we have those different materials that we've chosen based on earth tones and some of the neighboring structures. We have the floor plans. This is the basement floor plan. It's basically unfinished basement, and there's some unexcavated areas. We have the architectural elevations. We show the front, rear, and right side and the left side elevation, showing the different materials and the et cetera. So going to the first floor plan, we have a front hall, front entrance, which is a center hall entryway with a stair tower to the left. And we have a central corridor, a gallery with dining room, kitchen, breakfast area, family room, the art studio. There's an outdoor patio and courtyard. And then we have a media room. And then there's a full bathroom adjacent to the media room. And then we have to the right side front, we have a 2-car garage, a powder room, mud room, and then we have access to the rear yard. The second floor plan, we have 3 bedrooms, a home office on the second floor. The rear section of the house is a master bedroom suite with the master bath. And we also have the stair tower, as I mentioned, which carries you up from the first floor. We have a landing, and to the left, we have a laundry room, another bathroom, and then the 2 bedrooms above the garage area. We've also introduced the sky exposure plane diagrams, and based on what we've shown in the elevations, I believe this satisfies the clearances for the sky exposure plane. That would be the extent of what we have so far.
Thanks.
Great transition. And just as far as engineering is concerned, we like we already spoke about, a lot of the existing structures are going to be demoed to create room for the new structures. We pretty much designed to capture the majority of the impervious area, except a little portion of the driveway, because the elevation is too low to capture it. Also designed for the 100-year storm event, all infiltration. As you can see to the north of the top left corner, it's going to be Caltech chambers, I believe 330s. We did get some comments from Anthony over here, and we're gonna get minor comments, so we're gonna address all of them at least before the next submission. And that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Susan Jane Schill, landscape architect, Aspect 120 Landscape Architecture. So what we did, working with the homeowners and the civil engineers, is try to accomplish a certain amount of things with a rational sensibility, as well as minimizing the disturbance, really keeping everything as close to where the house will be. We are putting in a pool in this area, and the fence would go immediately around the pool. There'll be a little small patio right outside the studio space, and this is a courtyard area between the within the house structure, basically surrounded by the house structure. For the planting materials, we kept it to native plants, appropriate for this climate, non-invasive, deer tolerant, because we're not proposing a deer fence around it, and also proposing suitable screening with vegetation in the areas that are closest to the activity areas that might be closest to the neighboring lots. But I think you'll see that it's a real suitable kind of plan for this site.
Thank you.
Sure.
Our planner had a question about the 30-inch ash tree in the rear yard. You're just about taking it down if it was necessary to take down. I mean, are the
I
ash-
believe this one you're talking about. Yeah, we talked about that. We were talking about whether it was necessary to take down or not, and it was really just about citing where the pool could go. You know, saving as many trees as possible on the site, which we are saving a whole bunch of trees on the site. But that one was just really sort of in the middle of everything. It was really a poor location. I don't remember if the health of that tree.
Yeah, I mean, the
particularly.
ash borers will get it eventually.
Right,
so.
right, yeah.
Never be optimist.
No, I
And
mean, if it's a
also-
healthy tree, though, if it's a beautiful, healthy tree, it
But
would be
also
worth saving.
recognize that we're right next to the Children's Village, so we have a whole forest as well, right next door. And other trees will be introduced as well on the site, not near the house, of course, you know, over time is what we're looking at.
Thank you. I had a couple of comments. The first one is you're probably aware that you've got a stream running through your front yard, and you have neighbors that have had water getting into their cellars. And I'm a resident of Judson Avenue, so haven't for 22 years. So you might want to just be especially careful about that. I believe it's daylighted by the time it gets to you, but you know that there's hydraulic pressure underneath that whole area. And the second one is you don't just have deer pressure, you've got aggressive deer pressure. So you might want to look and see what's surviving in the neighbors' yards, because we've tried all kinds of supposedly deer resistant plants. And over all these years, we've finally settled on some that work, but a lot of the ones that used to work don't work anymore. Just letting you know, they eat everything.
Deer fence.
Only thing that works.
You know, well, you're what my wife's an avid gardener, so if you actually want to ask her about it, I'm sure she'd be delighted to talk.
Any other comments from the board?
It's pretty hidden back in there. The existing house, you have to really be right at the
very
end of the
hidden. I
driveway.
was there today. And, it's a nice piece of property.
Thank you.
Very nice piece of property. And it's a dead end street, so you don't get too much traffic. You'll get people turning around in your driveway. I mean,
Lots of foot traffic going to the end of the street where there's that entrance.
Yeah.
so,
Call for a public hearing.
oh, yes. Yes. I move that we call for a public hearing at the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll continue the discussion at our next meeting, and we'll have a public hearing, and you can meet some of your new neighbors perhaps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, where's my-
I had a question.
Yeah.
I know that the architectural review board meets at different times than this review board. Does that happen in tangent? Does this have to go first and then go to there while waiting for?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go now.
Yeah, you can go to them.
You can go now.
Yeah, schedule it.
Yeah, I'll talk to Pat.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
One quick question for the board. For 18 Fairlawn Avenue and 253 Judson Avenue, would you like me to draft resolutions just in case the public hearings are?
Yeah, thank you.
It doesn't look like there's a lot of, I mean, are there any zoning code issues related to this project?
It's only the permeable, the impervious surface. Really.
Their zoning chart is all compliant.
Oh, really?
On this.
For Judson.
Oh, you're talking about Judson, I think.
Judson.
Yeah, Judson Avenue.
Fairlawn, I guess.
253, right, Ed?
Fairlawn, no.
So Ed, this project, Judson, do you see any issues that would require additional?
253 versus 240.
Yeah, well, for 253, the one we just
Right.
saw, that are going to require additional attention?
I don't see any zoning problems. I think they just need to deal with Anthony on engineering.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And then they'll face the architectural review board.
yeah.
Fairlawn could change if the stormwater is a problem.
Yeah, I think that's,
Depending on what you find in that manhole.
Right.
okay. The next item on our agenda, item number 8, is 243 Judson Avenue, pre-submission conference for proposed additions to existing home.
Well, there's nobody here.
We have somebody on Zoom.
Mhm.
Laurel, can you hear us?
Okay, I'm here.
Ah. Good
Hi.
evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Sorry, I'm the only person not in person tonight, but I had to stay home with one of my kids while the other ones were out at baseball games. But so do you have the plans up, or should I share? Can I share them from my screen?
Share them from your screen.
Okay, sure. Let me just bring it up. Hold on, just give me just a second. I thought these were pulled up. Do this now. Share screen.
Easement is interesting.
Sorry, I'm having trouble pulling it up on the share screen.
I'm gonna ask Ed or council about the easement. in these two
Yeah, we
lots.
can talk about that. Hold on, let me just get this. I think I'll have it in just a second.
What that means.
We were looking at that a little bit, and it's actually, it seems like it's not an easement, it's a strip of land.
Oh, they're owned by somebody else?
Yeah, that's owned, and actually Jen went out and took a look to see, because there's a key on a chamber near there. And it looks like it used to be a sump pump or something. I'm not sure that's lined up with that strip. There's also something that looks like a well at the end of that strip, so.
Wow.
Yeah,
But no one seems to know what really is in there.
I know. The well is on, there are actually 3 pieces of property. There is, here, I'll find the, so this is the main piece of property with the house. This is like a little 2-foot strip that we're a little unclear on who really owns it and why it's there. The Benz V's, the owners, say that they think they're paying taxes on it, but they don't, in their title search documents, it was showing up as easements and there were some agreements signed with like the Westchester Lighting Company and then a water company from way back in 1930. And we weren't really able to locate any more information beyond that on this little strip of land. And then this property here is also owned by the Benz V's. That's straight up theirs. And this property is where that well is. It's located somewhere right around here. So the original plan for this house was to do an addition off this side of the house. But then once we found out that this was not actually their property, they wanted to merge the lots into one piece of property. But then when they found out that this property wasn't theirs and they couldn't do anything about it, then we kind of revisited the whole plan. We decided to do an addition off the back here and then a smaller like kind of mudroom addition off the back of the house here. And right now, the only variance we're looking at with this is just a setback variance of about 1 foot 9 inches off of this property line for this addition.
Could I ask who told them that they did not own that strip?
It actually came up when we asked a surveyor to come out and do a survey on the property, and he flagged it and said, who owns this property? And then we realized that there was this tiny little strip, because we had surveys for the 2 big pieces of property, and we didn't even realize that there was this little strip there until the surveyor pointed it out. And when you do look at the documents, some of the title search documents, a name by the last name Nauman comes up for it, but there are also some ledger documents, like legal documents with indicating that it's an easement of some sort. It looks like it was water, electric, and maybe gas also.
It does look like that, but it is a parcel on GIS maps, and in the Greenberg system that we use for our permitting software, it shows all 3 the same owner.
Yes, and 240, the owner of 243 Judson is paying taxes on that parcel. I looked it up in our tax system.
Yeah, that's what they thought. So we've just been confused about, we thought it was an easement and that we didn't want to build on it. And there definitely are some documents indicating that it is, but I don't know. We kind of decided that maybe we better not to mess with it.
I think we could talk to Greenberg about joining these lots.
Yeah, if you can join the lots, would you do something different?
The original plan was to come off the side of the house here with one addition over here. Yeah.
So should we wait until that's figured out?
I guess we can revisit it. I just, we had assumed that there was maybe something or some sort of easement going through here. And when we found that out, we didn't want to build on top of the easement, even though we knew that, I guess technically you can, but there's, you always run the risk of them having to dig it up later. But yeah, I mean, we can look into rejoining it.
The key to this mystery may be in a manhole on Fairlawn.
Are there utilities in there?
I don't know. There doesn't seem to be, like, I don't see any, we didn't really see any indication of it, but I guess we may not know who to check with about that. Like, if there's
the children's villages behind there.
Check with children's villages. Yeah, that would make sense as to who it would be going to. So
yeah, it could have at one point been like a traveling easement, but it shows all 3 same property, and usually on a survey, and Anthony could comment on this also, most surveys would show an easement and what utilities are there, what the easement is for. And I don't see that.
Yeah, this just looked like it was a separate parcel,
Yeah, so
they might have an easement to use it.
well, let me just,
Strange things.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pull up something else.
it's just
quick.
kind of strange.
I know, it is weird.
I mean, I have a utility easement running down the edge of my property, but there's nothing in it. I mean, nobody's using it.
Yeah, there's as Anthony said, there's a well at the end of where this could be, not the one that looks like that's in the middle of the property. It's right at the road. There's like 2 wells. So it's possible that well was something many years ago and now it's nothing. It's filled with dirt now.
It
There's
was a
nothing
water
in
source
there.
for the property
Yeah,
behind
it
them,
could have been.
perhaps, right?
Somebody had something running through there
Yeah.
at some point.
So this is from the title search. You can see that that's
Oh,
like that
that's
little
crazy.
strip is there.
Yeah.
And then let me just zoom back
That was
out.
Children's Village water source.
Yeah, this tiny well.
If you're doing construction, you can call somebody and they'll come and look at the utilities, right?
Yeah,
for
I mean,
you?
you could do a mark out for the roadway. If you do a private mark out, they'll use just like locating,
Mhm.
to find there's something in there.
But that would be useful, I would think, to know whether there's anything in there or not.
Yeah. So you can see this is some documentation here. It's ridiculously hard to read. I'm sorry, but it says, State of New York Water Company, and then the Bento Realty Company. This is something, an agreement with them, we believe, for that parcel of land. And
Is that-
then
Is that from the 20s or something, 30s?
30s, yeah. And then here, this Westchester Lighting Company. These are both related to that strip of property.
Wow.
But they're really hard to read. I don't like, the first one is completely illegible.
Just give the Westchester Lighting Company a call and ask.
Yeah.
Probably not around
They
it.
still exist. So,
90 years ago, we signed it.
so, I mean, we can look back into that, but we moved forward assuming that wasn't possible. So I'll check with the owners again about whether they would want to go back to the original plan, because they're pretty happy with the plan that we have now.
If we
So
call for, if we call for a public hearing, will somebody come out of the woodwork and tell us what that strip of land is?
Oh, maybe.
Right.
But I do think it would be nice for them to be able to join those properties eventually, regardless of which way they decide to go.
So we should proceed as
Well,
planned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll check with them about whether they would want to reverse course and go the other way if we were able to merge the properties.
Well, we can go forward with this application and,
Okay. Yeah.
So can you clarify for me, you probably heard, I live on Judson Avenue, I walk by there all the time, and that property has a, on the right side of it, from looking at it from the street, has a very unique roof line on the little one-story piece on the right.
Here, let me bring up, I can show you the existing plans. I think they're in here somewhere.
I mean, I sort of wonder what people were thinking when they built the little roof piece that goes up on the end. And
yeah, I think
it'd be a roofing nightmare.
let's see, I guess we have the, where are my demo plans? Are they not in here? I feel like my demo plan isn't in here, but yeah, so that side of the house, I think there was a sunroom at one point that had a sloped roof on it, and then they decided to bump the sunroom out farther, and they put in a beam and then sloped up that part of the roof, and then they added these two closets on each end that have these weird little counter roof pieces over them, and that's it.
So would that whole sunroom be taken out, and is the foundation reusable? Or you're going to actually build on top of that structure?
Yeah, we're actually keeping the sunroom pretty much as is. We're just adding to the back of it. So let me go back here. So the sunroom right now is this portion, and then they have a matching closet out here that matches this one. And so we're on this back portion, we're adding this kind of yoga studio room, and then just some steps out the back on there. And then up on the second floor, hold on, we're building out a big master suite over the whole thing.
Okay.
And then you can see, so these are the existing elevations. Those are those weird angled roofs. And now they want to keep the front closet, but we're going to change the roof to just a more traditional sloped towards the front roof, and then going up the second story here.
Well, I could see that being quite an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So.
Good.
Right, should we call for a public
Yes,
hearing? Is that our next step?
I move we call for a public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Great.
See you next
So,
month.
so public hearing at our next meeting.
Okay.
Would you also like me to draft a resolution just in case you decide to move forward with
Sure,
this?
yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
The last item on our agenda, item number 9, 14 Bel Air Driveway, pre-submission conference for proposed additions and site improvements to existing house. This sounds familiar.
Is there anyone here from 14 Bel Air Drive?
Okay.
Mitchell Koch Architects, Irvington.
I only see one person here that's not Patty. His name is Paul, but I don't know if he's the. Paul, if you're here for 14 Bel Air Drive, can you please raise your hand? Want me to try and put him on?
He didn't respond.
No.
There's nobody else.
There's
I guess
nobody
we might as well give it a try.
Well,
Paul, can you hear us?
Just put it over.
I don't think this
Is
is.
he
it.
in the United States?
yeah. The 3-minute rule or something.
We're done.
So this is just a,
Pre-submission conference, so
actually, yeah, so we need to.
So
that's explain as well.
okay, well,
Let's push it.
move it forward to the next meeting.
And one thing that I just want to, and Ed, you might want to, you're going to probably want to opine on that. I just want to draw your attention to the fact that the Hastings, the Village of Hastings border actually runs right through the post project itself. So, and the applicant did not provide any sort of zoning table. So, Ed, I don't know how you want the applicant to deal with the zoning issue.
What is the deal if the property,
Somebody's there.
Ed's trying to talk.
I met with Mitch Koch and Charlie Minozzi, the building inspector for Hastings. And Hastings would not even send us the planning, so they, had no objection to it. And we decided that we'd handle it. So we've asked Mr. Koch to add the zoning table to his plan. So hopefully we'll have that next time.
okay,
Thank you.
all right,
So then it's, okay.
okay, that's good.
We did an engineering review anyway, so maybe we can get that to them and by the next meeting, they could have addressed it already.
Okay, well,
So do we have to do a public hearing on that one?
that sounds a little premature, but
Yeah,
You
it's.
probably want to wait till you get everything on that.
no, we're gonna penalize them for not
Get
being
somebody
here.
to represent.
Somebody here.
No, come on. So, no,
So should we move to adjourn?
I think I move that we adjourn the meeting.
All in
Got
favor?
5 seconds.
Aye.
Thank you.
Reasonable, short.
Thank you all.